The lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding. For centuries, Hermetic philosophy has illuminated seekers of truth, unveiling universal laws that govern both the material and spiritual realms. These teachings, preserved in texts like the Kybalion, reveal reality as an intricate web of energy, vibration, thought, and consciousness, a perspective that modern science is now beginning to confirm. We stand at the threshold of a profound realization. The universe is not merely a collection of particles and forces, but an intelligent, interconnected field where observation does not simply record reality, it creates it. Albert Einstein once said, "Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one." Albert Einstein changed how we perceive reality itself. His theory of relativity redefined time, space, and gravity, showing that energy and matter are deeply interconnected. Nikola Tesla famously stated, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." Tesla's contributions power almost everything we use today: electrical grids, radio, remote control, and even X-rays. Without his discoveries, the modern world would look completely different. Ancient wisdom and groundbreaking discoveries point to the same reality. The mind is not just a receiver, but a creator. The principle of mentalism, the all is mind. Reality is not separate from consciousness, it emerges from it. Science has struggled with this idea, yet quantum physics reveals a startling truth. Observation affects reality itself. This is the observer effect. When a particle is measured, its behavior changes. Before observation, it exists in a state of probabilities, waves of possibility. The moment it is observed, it locks into a defined state. Reality is not just unfolding around you, it is reacting to your awareness. Just like in quantum physics, your perception dictates experience. If you view life with certainty, you create structure. If you exist in doubt, reality remains unclear, unstable, undefined. Your thoughts are not passive. They collapse probabilities into outcomes. You are not simply witnessing life, you are generating it. Your mind is not just perceiving the world, it is creating it. And once you understand this, once you align thought with action, everything changes. The universe is built on repeating patterns that appear at every level of existence. This is the principle of correspondence, captured in the ancient Hermetic phrase, "As above, so below. As within, so without." This means that reality is deeply connected. What happens on a small scale mirrors what happens on a large scale. Patterns repeat in nature, in biology, in societies, and even in consciousness. In school, we learn Euclidean geometry, shapes like squares, triangles, and circles, used to design cities, roads, and technology. But this type of geometry does not explain the natural world. Nature follows a different system, fractal geometry. A fractal is a pattern that recreates itself at different sizes. No matter how big or small, it follows the same design. Look at a tree. A full-grown tree has large branches, and each branch splits into smaller branches, which split again into even tinier branches. No matter how much you zoom in, the same pattern keeps appearing. The tree is built on a structure that repeats itself over and over. Your lungs follow the same pattern. The airways in your lungs start large and then divide into smaller branches, which divide again into even tinier airways. The structure of your lungs is nearly identical to the structure of a tree. Even animals follow this rule. Look at a cat's whiskers. The long whiskers on its face help it sense its surroundings, but the smaller whiskers on its legs and above its eyes serve the same function, just on a smaller scale. The same design, just in different places. Patterns repeat everywhere. The ridges on your fingertips resemble the folds in the skin on your palms. The veins inside a butterfly's wings follow the same branching structure as the wings themselves. The spots on a leopard's fur resemble the larger camouflage patterns seen in nature. Even human society follows this rule. If you want to understand a country, you look at its communities, because the way people interact in small groups mirrors how entire nations operate. The individual reflects the collective. This principle is not just philosophy, it is a blueprint for understanding reality. Fractal geometry was discovered by scientists in the 1980s, but Hermetic teachings described this principle over 5,000 years ago. How did ancient mystics understand these repeating structures before modern science could measure them? Perhaps the Hermetic teachings are more than metaphor. They may hold a hidden design for how reality is structured. If the same patterns exist everywhere, what does this reveal about the nature of reality itself? The principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves. Everything in existence is constantly moving. Even things that seem still, like a table, a rock, or even your own body, are vibrating at a fundamental level. For centuries, physics taught that the world is made of atoms, tiny building blocks composed of protons, neutrons, and electrons. These were believed to be solid, physical structures forming all matter around us. But then, quantum physics took a deeper look. Scientists discovered that when you zoom in far enough, there's no solid matter at all, just energy in motion. Atoms aren't static objects, they are swirling vortexes of energy, always shifting, always vibrating. Every electron moves rapidly, orbiting the nucleus at incredible speeds, creating an energetic field. The faster an atom vibrates, the more energy it carries. Even protons and neutrons, the core of an atom, are made of something smaller, quarks. But quarks aren't tiny hard pieces. They are energy waves constantly flickering in and out of existence. Everything at the atomic level is in motion. Take heat as an example. Heat isn't a physical thing, it's simply atoms vibrating faster. The hotter an object gets, the more its atoms speed up. Cold, on the other hand, is when atoms slow down, but even at absolute zero, the lowest possible temperature, there is still movement. Nothing ever stops vibrating. This motion isn't random. It sends out waves, influencing everything around it. Drop a rock in a pond and ripples spread outward, carrying energy across the water. Atoms do the same thing. They send vibrations into the space around them, constantly interacting, constantly exchanging energy. Thousands of years ago, Hermetic teachings described the principle of vibration, stating that everything moves, nothing is truly still. They may not have used words like quantum physics, but they understood something fundamental. Reality is built on vibration. Matter is not solid, it is energy. Everything is movement, everything is vibration. Even what appears still is always shifting at its core. Your thoughts, emotions, and even your body are vibrating fields of energy, shaping the reality around you. The principle of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything in the universe exists in pairs, opposites that seem separate but are actually connected. This is the principle of polarity, captured in the Hermetic phrase, everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Look at the balance of nature, predator and prey. They may seem like opposing forces locked in a struggle, but they rely on each other for survival. Without prey, predators starve. Without predators, prey overpopulate and destroy their own environment. They complete each other, maintaining equilibrium in the ecosystem. The same is true in human experience. Opposites like love and hate, courage and fear, generosity and selfishness appear distinct, but they are simply different expressions of the same energy. Love and hate are not separate emotions. They stem from deep emotional investment. The stronger the connection, the greater the capacity for love, or for resentment. A person who feels nothing cannot love, but they also cannot hate. It is engagement that creates both. Courage and fear arise from the same awareness of risk. Fear holds a person back, while courage moves them forward, but both exist because of uncertainty. Without fear, courage wouldn't exist. It would simply be reckless action. Even generosity and selfishness exist on a spectrum. Self-preservation is necessary. Without it, survival would be impossible. But excessive selfishness turns destructive. Generosity is simply selfishness flipped outward, giving because it fulfills a need within oneself to provide and connect. Polarity teaches us that opposites are not separate. They are two ends of the same wavelength, constantly shifting and transforming into each other. This truth extends beyond emotion and behavior. It is the foundation of existence itself. Light and darkness, expansion and contraction, attraction and repulsion, all are connected. The real power comes from understanding that these opposites do not fight each other, they create balance. One cannot exist without the other. Ancient Hermetic teachings understood this. Thousands of years before modern science discovered energy waves, they spoke of polarity, not as division, but as unity through contrast. By embracing both sides of the spectrum, we see the whole picture. We stop choosing sides and start understanding the full nature of reality. And when we do, we find clarity. The principle of rhythm, semantics, and the flow of reality. Everything moves in cycles. Nothing is truly still. What looks solid is vibrating at its core, moving to a rhythm we can't always see, but it's there, shaping everything. Semantics makes that rhythm visible. When sound moves through matter, it organizes it. Sand, water, metal, it doesn't matter. The vibration pushes everything into structured designs. The higher the frequency, the more intricate the pattern. This isn't random. This is how rhythm works. Look at water. When sound hits its surface, waves ripple outward. The vibration creates movement, and that movement forms a shape. Look at your heartbeat. It follows a rhythm, pulsing in waves, expanding and contracting, just like everything else in nature. Look at energy. It rises and falls, fluctuates, shifts. The rhythm of the universe isn't just happening in sound, it's happening in everything. Semantics shows us that rhythm isn't chaos, it's organization, it's structure, it's the hidden pattern behind reality itself. Ancient cultures understood this long before science caught up. Monks chanted in specific tones to activate energy. Temples were built to amplify vibration. They knew sound wasn't just noise, it was power, it was creation. Now science proves what they knew. Everything vibrates, everything moves, everything is shaped by frequency. And here's the part that changes everything. You are part of the rhythm. Your thoughts, waves, your emotions, waves, your life. A constant flow of highs and lows, cycles repeating, always shifting. Just like sound organizes matter, the energy you create organizes your reality. A scattered frequency creates a scattered life. A clear rhythm creates alignment. You're not stuck, you're moving within the pattern. The principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause. Nothing exists in isolation. Every action, thought and movement creates an effect. A chain reaction that echoes through time, shaping everything. If you blow on a dandelion, its seeds scatter, carried by the wind to new places. They don't simply disappear, they drift, land and take root, growing into new plants. The spread of those seeds is not separate from the breath that sent them. It is a continuation of that single action. Cause is never a single event. It feeds into the next moment, then the next, looping back and shifting everything in its wake. Think about water. A single drop falls into a pond, sending ripples outward. Each wave spreads, colliding with others, altering the surface. The water moves, shifts, and adjusts to the disturbance, carrying the energy far beyond where the drop first landed. What began as a single motion transforms the entire pond, disturbing stillness, creating patterns, shaping everything it touches. The movement doesn't stop when the drop disappears, its impact continues long after, but the effect doesn't stop when the fire dies. The landscape is different now. The ground retains the heat, the air carries the scent of burning wood. Even when the cause seems to have ended, its effects continue. This is how reality unfolds, not in disconnected moments, but in patterns of influence, constantly shaping what comes next. Every thought you have, every belief you hold, every decision you make, they are causes, sending out energy into the world around you. If you repeat the thought, "I'm not good enough," it doesn't just sit in your mind. It alters the way you carry yourself, the way you interact, the way you pursue opportunities. That belief shapes the choices you make, the risks you avoid, and the experiences you attract. It becomes a self-fulfilling cycle. But the same rule applies when you shift the cause. If you tell yourself, "I have the power to create change," something happens. You stand differently. You move with more certainty. That confidence spreads into action. You take steps you wouldn't have before. People respond to that energy. New paths open. Reality itself shifts, not because of luck, but because you changed the cause. Cause and effect is always in motion. You are never just experiencing life, you are creating it. Everything around you is responding to the energy you put into motion. Your thoughts, your choices, your emotions. A single shift in thinking, a single moment of action, it doesn't just happen, it expands. Cause is not linear, it is cyclical. It evolves, feeds back into itself, transforms over time. And once you see it, once you understand it, you hold the power to shape everything. The principle of gender. Gender exists in everything. Gender is not just biological, it is a fundamental principle woven into the fabric of existence. From the structure of an atom to the intelligence of the human mind, reality is shaped by two energies, the masculine and the feminine. But these are not opposites, they are partners in creation. Look at the smallest unit of life, a single cell. It does not function with just one energy. It carries both. One aspect governs structure and movement, the framework that supports life. The other governs growth and reproduction, the force that nurtures and regenerates. From the very beginning, existence relied on balance. Cells evolved by splitting functions, but neither could thrive alone. The energy of creation required both forces working together. Zoom out from the cell. Look at the human brain. The left hemisphere governs logic, analysis, structure. Traits labeled as masculine. The right hemisphere controls emotion, intuition, creativity. Traits linked to the feminine. Two distinct energies divided down the middle, yet constantly working together. We are not fully ourselves when we suppress one side. We need both. Society teaches separation, forcing rigid labels onto energy that was never meant to be divided. Through conditioning, we are told to be either one or the other. But just like polarity, gender is not separate. It is a spectrum, a unified wavelength. The masculine and feminine energies exist in everything, within each person, within nature, within creation itself. Balance is not about denying one and embracing the other. It is about activating both. This truth extends beyond the individual. It is present in relationships, ecosystems, entire civilizations. When one energy dominates too strongly, imbalance follows. A structure without nurturing becomes rigid, lifeless. Growth without stability becomes chaotic, unstable. Throughout history, societies have swung between extremes, too rigid, then too uncontrolled, never in balance. But the wisdom of Hermeticism teaches that gender is not opposition. It is co-creation. These teachings existed long before neuroscience mapped the brain or quantum physics measured energy. Ancient civilizations understood this principle, not as a social construct, but as the foundational force of reality. Now, science is catching up, proving that everything from atoms to emotions moves through the interplay of masculine and feminine forces. We've only touched on a few ways these principles shapes our world. Every Hermetic law connects, intertwines, and expands into deeper truths. If this resonated with you, subscribe, comment, and share, because we're just getting started.